Thank you, Madam President. I think that might be my last trip to the podium on this side for the evening. I just made an observation. Just remind my colleagues, independent senators, that this podium is also available. It's been a bit underutilized today, so I invite them to probably make use of it the next time. Madam President, I rise to make my contribution to this HIA loan of $220 million. Correctly, it is not the first time that it has been spoken of or brought up, and I think the amendments are being proposed. Madam President, despite that fact, it is clear that this loan does not change the fact that we are going to be adding to our debt profile. The government is guaranteeing the loan, and SLASPA will be is the one taking the loan. But as a guarantor, we still have responsibility should they falter. So we're basically making a commitment as a government that we are prepared to undertake that debt profile. I totally understand the enthusiasm of my colleague senator who just spoke, and he's been very consistent, Madam President, when it comes to issues relating to UNORA, the taxi service. So I completely understand his enthusiasm and his genuine intent to support the bill. But I have to say, Madam President, that there is now, with changing circumstances, although our airport needs attention, we have always agreed on that part. But even then, when we first had discussion on this bill, the opposition had called on the government to rethink the options. And then the options were PPP and not take the loan to add up to our debt stock. But, Madam President, some time has passed and circumstances have changed. We are all aware that between then and now, a lot has changed around the world. And I believe that the time has come now for us to ask whether, because of the changed circumstances, that we could not have revisited our position regarding that loan. Whether the government could not have had a rethink and say, listen, we had made a commitment, but now we have a situation where our country's circumstances have changed. We have a situation where the revenue stream, that the premise on which that loan was being taken was, I remembered, clearly stated by leader of government business, the Prime Minister, that we are not borrowing without a revenue stream, a designated revenue stream. And that since you were borrowing, the dedicated revenue stream would have been through the airport development tax. Now, Madam President, although we had issues with that at the time, but right now I believe that this situation is even more serious. I'll move on, but I'll just mention it a little bit later. Madam President, we must realize that we don't reside or we don't exist in this world alone. We are part of a global environment. And what happens in other jurisdictions have implications for what we do. We must remember that in places like the UK, we see that governments have pulled back on capital expenditure. They've pulled back on commitments that they would have made to spend on essentially capital projects. But I suspect that, and that obviously has been predicated by the advent of COVID. Now we sit in this honorable house, we've been here today, and we've all spoken about COVID. We have disagreed on certain things, but I think all of us have agreed that this is a phenomenon that threatens every aspect of our existence. And that because of that COVID situation, that a lot of things have to be done differently. But it doesn't seem that when it comes to the borrowing habit that this government has developed, that they are prepared to even rethink. Madam President, if I was doing statistics mathematics class today, the mode of this day would have been borrowing. That is the word that has been used and used all day. And it has been so for the last 4 years. But you would expect that perhaps under these circumstances, we would have had to rethink. Now, I believe my colleague senator who spoke before did make a very good point about having made a commitment to a loan, for example, to a bank, and not just using the money for another purpose. I understand that analogy. But, Madam President, I wish to say that while you cannot just use the money that you have secured for one purpose for another, but you can renegotiate as the borrower. You can go to your creditor and renegotiate the terms and conditions. Circumstances have changed, so you can ask for you to renegotiate. You can also cancel. Governments have had to cancel loans. It's not such a very complicated process. So we must be true to the situation as is. We speak about the circumstances that face the country now and ask people to come together and let's try and do certain things to mitigate against the threat it has posed to our country. But yet we see a government that is hell-bent on continuing along the same path with the way it goes about dealing with the country's resources. $202 million now, even if you had thought about doing it and we had told you everything about the options. This cannot be, Madam President, at this time, under these circumstances, the priority. It cannot be. While I am prepared to even be more understanding along the other lines and for the other borrowings that we have come to debate before, the COVID situation that we did have issues with, but we can see a need to pay attention to COVID. What is it about that specific loan that we are hell-bent on going ahead to borrow? Madam President, I really believe that we must, let me apologize for the last statement, Madam. I think it was a little misplaced, the hell-bent. I want to withdraw that. You may have missed it, but I know I shouldn't have said so. So I withdraw that statement. I don't think it's parliamentary. Right. So, Madam President, I really believe that the government has had an opportunity in the last few months to think about that decision. But we have not seen that. Now that we know for a fact, based on the statistics that the Ministry of Tourism has been giving us in the last few weeks, there are some straight, naked facts that we can all agree to. And we have seen a reduction, significant reduction in revenue collected at our ports. And it's obvious why. So, Madam President, how are we going to make that commitment if we are dependent on that revenue to repay that loan? How? Airports worldwide, and the Caribbean is no exception, are seeing the lowest levels of arrivals. That's a fact. It's an airport we're trying to develop. Yet, the revenue source has been seriously depleted. And we have no reason to rethink. My colleague made some suggestions about what we can do. We have not made one adjustment in terms of the sum. We're still going ahead as we were, as if everything is normal. It's not normal, Madam President. And we have admitted that. It is not as it was before. Madam President, none of us knows what the next few months are going to bring. We are approaching Christmas. We are now faced with a spike in the number of cases of COVID. We have dengue as well. We're not talking about it, but it's also a serious threat. More people have died here than dengue than any other than COVID. So we also have another health threat. And there are other mitigating circumstances that make the future of our country makes me very nervous about the future. And I think we must pay attention to that. We do not know what is going to happen come January. We don't know if the situation now that the U.S. has a new president, we don't know what's going to happen to our source markets. I mentioned that earlier. It's very uncertain. And in these circumstances, we have to be very cautious. Madam President, I would like to know that the situation will improve, and I hope it does, but I cannot guarantee that, and none of us here can say so. And so you would think that under these circumstances, we would have stepped back a little bit, but we haven't. So, Madam President, I want to wrap up with 2 points. And one is that the principal argument of the revenue stream through the airport tax is no longer valid because the arrival numbers have dropped and the circumstances have changed. And that is a fact. Cannot dispute that. We must also, Madam President, agree, even if we don't like it, but we must agree that the debt stock of this country is really high. It is. There is very little room, very little fiscal space to maneuver right now. And in that single loan, we are borrowing, or we're guaranteeing the borrowing of $202 million. That is a significant sum in the context of our fiscal situation. It is. And that is why, Madam President, we need to give it some serious thought. Not about whether we should do the airport, not about whether we had made a commitment, but about the current situation that exists. Let us be responsible. Let us demonstrate what we're asking St. Lucians to demonstrate. Let us pull back a little bit. We have been asked to give up some of our social activities. The Minister of Health and the Prime Minister and the CMO have asked us many times to, make some sacrifices, pull back on some of what we were doing, because everything is not okay. Yet, and I think I agree, St. Lucians must learn to make adjustments. But the government must lead by example, Madam President. Here is an opportunity to make an adjustment, but we're not. Do as I say, but not as I do. So, I want to end with an analogy, a simple one, and I think it will just summarize what I've said. I believe my colleague Senator Jean-Pierre will probably like this one. Madam President, imagine you're a taxi driver. You own a taxi, a bus. That's working. It's in good shape. It's working. But it can do with some upgrading. You might want to put some nice rims and, nice it up, put a new AC unit inside and so on, cover your seats. But the bus is working. And because of the situation as it is, when you used to have 5 trips a day, you can maybe do 2. It has seriously affected your revenue. Your spouse, who was working at the hotels, is out of a job now because of COVID. So your revenue as a father, as a driver, is seriously compromised, and your spouse is not working. You have children at school, they still need their books, they still need food on the table, and they still need basic care. But as a driver, as a taxi owner, Madam President, you decide you go into the bank to get a loan to nice up your taxi because it's still what you use to earn your daily bread. It is still what you use to earn your daily bread, but it's working. But you're going to go to the bank and secure a loan in these times to nice up your taxi, make it look better. Maybe you'll get a few tourists. Madam President, the fact will remain that while you're going to make that decision, this is a priority decision, your children will be hungry. They will still not have the requirements because the revenue is not going to come. You will have to pay for that taxi upgrade that you did not need. Instead of looking after the needs, the immediate needs of your children who need to go to school, putting food on the table, and subsidizing for the income that your wife has lost. It's a simple situation. This is what we're facing, Madam President. We are not saying that the driver doesn't need the taxi anymore. In fact, he might be tempted to say, let me market better by making it look nice. I'll probably get more tourists. It's a brave decision, but it's not wise, Madam President. In that case, the airport is like the taxi. And your hungry children and your wife are like the St. Lucians who are without a job and need immediate attention. So here we are, Madam President. All of them are important. The airport is important. Everything is important, but it's a matter of priority. And it is an opportunity if you're a good parent, if you're a good, compassionate and caring father. Like this morning there was some mention made about gender. I'm not going there. But we do have men in this house, in this honorable house. As a responsible father, Madam President, I believe my colleague senator would have said, I will hold on for that loan, on that loan, to nice up my taxi, and I will use the money to look after the immediate needs of my family. And when things stabilize a little better, when things start to roll, I will go back to the bank and nice up my taxi. This is what this government is demonstrating, Madam President, and that is essentially my argument. The Labour Party and the opposition have never said that we cannot fix the airport. We will never say so. We would like to see the airport upgraded. But right now, more than ever before, if the argument had been presented before about PPP and all of that, we can even throw that out of the window and cancel that loan completely. And we can wait until things are stabilized, the economy is back on its feet, the arrivals have become a little more, regulated a little better, and then we can forecast and see within the next few weeks and next few months, this is what we project because things are stable, and so we can go ahead and borrow. It's a very simple argument. And I don't think it has been unreasonable for the opposition to say to the government, rethink, revisit, reconsider, hold back. We're not saying don't do what you have to do. Hold back. This is not the best time for that kind of investment, that kind of risk, that we have no idea what's going to happen. So, Madam President, what if by February, March, the borders are closed for the US? We have a loan on our backs. For the next 6 months, things change. What are we going to do? So, Madam President, I want to end here by asking that the government revisits and that the opposition, under these conditions that exist right now, sees that as a major risk. And this one is not a calculated risk. There's no calculation in this one. I think my analogy with the father, the taxi driver, and the family should have made it very clear. And so on that basis, we cannot stand here and give our full support to that loan under the current conditions that we face. Thank you, Madam President.